Hey everybody, what's up and welcome to another episode of the Walk in Love podcast. I'm your host, TJ Macedas, excited to be here and excited for our guest. We have Jordan Lee Dooley with us here today. She is the founder of SoulScript. She is an author, speaker, just generally amazing in every kind of way. Jordan, how are you today?
I'm good. How
Good.
are you?
I'm doing good. We've actually never met. We've only sort of communicated via email, but it's exciting
Yep.
to actually talk to you in person.
Yes, likewise.
Yeah. So where are you from? Where's home? And maybe give
Home
our
is
guests a little.
Indiana, as I am proudly sporting here on my hat because today's a hat day.
Yep.
Yeah, I am originally from the north side of Indiana, actually in the same town that the University of Notre Dame is,
Okay.
good old South Indiana. And now I live in the Indianapolis area with my husband, so
Okay.
I've pretty much spent my whole life here.
Nice. That's awesome. And so we're going to get right to it, get right to the questions that our community has for you. And we want to just say thank you for taking the time to talk to us and be with us here today. And the first question, and this is kind of where I always like to start, is from KM Jefferson. What is SoulScript? So for the people that are just jumping in and they don't know who Jordan Lee Dooley is, they want to know what you are, what you do, sort of give us that little kind of answer that question. Who are you?
Yeah. Well, when I created SoulScript, it started off as a blog, kind of a space to share stories, share encouragement, share advice, that kind of thing. And it's expanded so much. You know, it's so fun to watch how you can start with such a tiny glimpse of what something's going to become and then watch it evolve. So I probably have looked like a crazy person to people who have seen this whole thing the last couple of years. But now it's really becoming even more really a resource hub for women in the transitional times of life. So it's a resource hub and a community space is really the best way I can describe it. And I really love to provide resources and not just encouragement though, but really like tools that really equip women through those seasons of, you know, when you're 16 to 30, think about how many transitions you go through and how much change you experience from high school to college to going to a job or getting married or seeing your friends get married. I mean, there's so many different things that happen during that season. I think that's when we can really feel isolated. That's when we can feel discouraged. That's when we can, you know, when life happens and we're in new places, we're like, who am I and where do I belong? And how can I really live, you know, what I believe where, you know, in this workplace or whatever. So really coming alongside girls in that season of life and in all those new changes that can be so difficult with really helpful and just practical resources. So.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah. Cause even like, you know, I've been married 9 years. And you know, my wife and I, we got married, we're, you know, young and dumb. And, you know, then we started businesses and then we had kids. And so it's, there are a lot of transitions and even just the transition from 1 to 2 kids. And yeah, that's really awesome. And people can find it at soulscripts.com. That's the URL. That's kind of the at SoulScripts everywhere on the internet. Cool. Yep. That's awesome. So question number 2 comes from Abigail Ballsbaugh. Do you have any advice for girls entering college in the fall? A transition, if you would say.
Exactly. And honestly, that is the group that I love speaking into. I speak on college campuses relatively frequently. And I actually wrote an entire blog post on how to keep your faith strong in college. So that can actually be found at thesoulscripts.com. Right. But some of the best kind of quick pieces of advice that I can give is to really surround yourself early with good influence, because I don't know if you're anything like me, but I just love people. And so one thing that I did right when I went to college is I was just kind of friends with anyone that was nice to me and very quickly realized like, okay, maybe I should be a little bit slower and more intentional to make friends. Now you can make acquaintances obviously, but just really being smart about that. And then going forward from that, you know, you really do become like who you spend time with. Right. So the best piece of advice I was given my freshman year after kind of feeling like I need to find some really solid, godly community, was someone gave me this picture of a wheel. And if you think about a wheel on a bicycle, if the spokes are uneven in length, it's not going to turn.
Right. Yep.
And so if you can think of your friendships like a well-balanced wheel, if on one side you have stewardship, which means you're friends with people who may not share your beliefs or who may not be walking the same walk as you or who may not necessarily be influencing you for the better, but you also need to have an equal amount, if not more, of friends who really do challenge you, sharpen you, pour into you, share your beliefs. Because if you have too much of one or the other, you can either become like you're just isolated in a bubble, or they will influence you for, you know, you want to make sure that you're equipping.
Looks like we're having some technical difficulties, Jordan.
To have a well-balanced wheel. And so in order to turn and head in the direction you need to head. Oh, sorry.
It's okay. It's just the connection, I think, is going in and out. We got most of that, though, the well-balanced wheel.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want me to just say it again, or
technology is what it is. No, I think we got the nuts and bolts of it. It's really good. And we've had it's internet connection, so it's no big deal. We'll keep pushing through because why not?
Why not?
So question number 3 comes from @Krista Freed. How do you get refreshed and rejuvenated? And I think this is actually a question, like, no matter who we have on as a guest, this is a question that we get for every single guest. This is a question that Brooke and I get a lot. And I think it's because it's a challenge just in culture today is to even feel refreshed. You know, it kind of feels like every day, you know, got to keep going. And finding that refreshment, I think any sort of insight you give that to is super beneficial, because I know that this question gets asked all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. My friend actually gave me a great piece of advice when it comes to scheduling rest and like intentionally building times into rest into your schedule. Because I'm the kind of person that will like pack my days full, like at 10 o'clock I have to do this, and then 11, and then 12, and then 1. And it's okay now and then. But she said sometimes one of the best things we can do is, instead of filling our entire day, is to actually still create consistency in our schedule so that we have a disciplined routine without being so packed full. And the best piece of advice that she gave me was create anchor times. So if you have anchor times in your schedule, that's one thing that I've started to put into practice. Like every morning I'm going to try to wake up around this time, and then I'm going to try to eat lunch by this time, dinner at this time, and then go to bed by this specific hour. And those are like the 4 anchor times that you can keep consistent. And then if, you know, your afternoons vary or whatever, that helps you just build in time to get in the Word, to take a nap, to be refreshed, because you know where your anchor times are. So that's been a really helpful tool. And honestly, just really being disciplined about getting in the Word. That the rejuvenated thing is, let's rest, let's make sure we dedicate, have someone hold you accountable. For that, every Sunday she's like, are you taking a day of rest? And if I'm not able to that Sunday for whatever reason, she's like, okay, well then you better do it on a day, you know. So having someone hold you accountable for one day of rest every week, and also getting in the Word. Yeah,
that's awesome. So for Walk in Love, we had a time where we would post like multiple Instagrams every single day, and it was actually this last Christmas season that I was just like, why are we like, I feel stressed about posting on Sunday. And and I felt myself at this crossroads of like, okay, I can stop posting on Sundays because I'm sort of feeling convicted for that. But it's like the busiest time of year and the time that we make the most sales. And honestly, like I tell Brooke over and over again, like I just love knowing that there's a day that I don't have to worry about like the social aspect of our business, and just like can kind of just shut it down and like, you know, take that sort of day away from that. And even personally now, that sort of kind of happened by default. Like it's a day away from my phone, a day away from just sort of like the nonstopness of our culture. But that's so good. Question number 4 comes from H. Settle E. Myers. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your guys' names, folks. How do you keep your attitude so joyful? And this is a question I get a lot too. So you go to your Instagram, you're smiling, you're happy, you're not like standing in a corner all moody and dark and like, you know, I'm the same way. I'm always smiling and cheesing it up. So how do you keep a joyful spirit about you?
Yeah, well, I guess the first thing that I can say is remember that whatever you see on people's social media, like that's only a glimpse in time. Right. So it's not like I'm always walking around like, but keeping a joyful spirit, regardless, like there's happiness and that's what causes us to smile and stuff. But the joy of the Lord is our strength. And so, yes, it's from the Lord, but I know that can sound so like even discouraging when you're not feeling joyful. And so one thing, this is a really practical tip. Okay. These are 2 practical tips, and I'm going to just tell you how to experience more joy in your days, even through difficult circumstances. One, if you can laugh up to 13 times throughout your day, you're actually going to experience more joy. So looking for the, like allowing yourself to laugh is honestly so simple, but making sure that you're building into your schedule time to talk with a friend who lightens your spirits, who, you know, that kind of thing. And really building that into your schedule. And secondly, give more hugs. I mean, honestly, it's that personal connection. Like there's so many other things I could say about get in the Word, like be in prayer. I mean, that does bring joy. But when you're not able to just sit down and read the Bible, or, you know, be in constant prayer throughout your days, just like talk to God like he's your dad, you know, like allow yourself to get into that place of vulnerability, but also in just your communications and stuff, like allow yourself at least try to laugh 12 to 13 times a day. You'll experience just more joy. Everything that seems heavy will feel lighter. And also just hug more. Like give free hugs. It makes such a difference. Like there's been scientific studies that talk about those who hug more actually have more, like their well-being is like totally, their entire well-being is better.
That's awesome. I'm gonna go hug every single person I meet today. It might be a little weird when I'm
on the street. It won't be weird.
You know, thanks for my coffee. You know. Awkward across the counter hug. That's awesome. Yeah, I noticed like, now that I'm a dad and have two kids, like it's just, when I walk home and my little 3-year-old is like, Dad, like it's amazing, and it really does help. And I could very easily walk home and be like, oh, I'm so tired, and not really appreciate that moment. And I think we can get into that sort of pattern. But laugh 13 times a day.
Yes. Well, and gratitude, really adopting a spirit of gratitude. You do get to choose where you fix your focus. Yes, there will be difficult things. Yes, you will be tired. But what if we, instead of saying, I'm exhausted, saying, thank you, Lord, for giving me enough, just assignments and work to do in your name that I can actually, like, wow, the fact that I even have that privilege is amazing, you know? So really shifting your mindset makes a huge difference. Yeah,
that's awesome. And then, so basically you told me to hug my wife more, which I will do, and to watch more of The Office, because that's what makes me laugh the most. So.
Okay, well, that's kind of that's understood.
That's awesome. So I always like to ask the last question from me personally, and so the question from me, and this is a question that I get a lot. Is you seem to have like an entrepreneurial spirit. You have your hands in a lot of different things. So what do you want to do next?
Yeah. Well, we have some really exciting upcoming projects. Like I said, I really want this Soul Scripts, community to really be like a resource hub for the gal that's in her 16 to 30 in that age range. And so we are creating a couple really exciting new resources. I also have a book launching in like literally less than a year now. It's in March of 2019. Awesome. So some exciting stuff, some really great stuff that's really going to serve as, I'm really all about the practicality, like truth and practicality. And so they're all like really practical, helpful resources to really experiencing more wholeness, more fullness, and more joy in our day-to-day.
Yes, amen to that. That's awesome. And so, well, one, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us and to talk to our community. I know that they will appreciate it. And we, I actually have been looking at the statistics of who our followers are, and they're women. It's like 89% women, 20 to 34. So like we're, I think a lot of people find a lot of insight in there. And for those women, where should they go? What should they look at? Tell them where to find you all over the internet.
Yeah, there's all over. So if you are interested in my writings and just like being my friend, my personal pages are Jordan Lee Dooley
digital hugs.
Yeah, digital hugs all around. So Jordan Lee Dooley on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and then the Soul Scripts community page where you can find a little bit more of those resources. And I obviously talk about them on my own pages too, but that's Soul Scripts across the board. Instagram's kind of where we hang out, but then our website is the soulscripts.com. So.
That's so awesome. Well, Jordan, thank you so much for being with us today. And everyone, make sure that you go check out Soul Scripts and follow Jordan on the Instagram. All right, Jordan, we will see you later. Looks like we had a technical difficulty there for her to say goodbye, which is okay, but I'm sure that she would have said goodbye in a very happy way with a really great big smile. So again, Jordan, we thank you so much for spending time with us and being with us. And we thank you, our listeners, and our watchers and our viewers, however you find this podcast, if it's video or on iTunes. We thank you very much for spending time with us, and we would love to hear from you. Let us know the questions that you'd like us to answer, the guests you'd like us to have, the things that you're going through, and how we can help better serve you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.